Hi there everyone, Hazel here from One Solitary Witch. So today I'm just going to go over basic altar tools and basic casting a circle. And at the end of the video I'm just going to give you a little tour of my little witchy room here, which is like my favorite place in the world to be. And I want to start off by saying that none of these tools are necessary. You can be a very powerful witch sitting on your couch with nothing but your intent and your pointer finger. So these are tools just to enhance your spells and your rituals. Like I said, none of these are necessary. And don't feel like you have to go out and spend a ton of money. As you'll see with some of these items, a lot of them are just things I've come across or already had, I've made, or I found in a thrift store. Okay, so I want to start with your basic when you cast a circle. So a lot of times before a ritual or a spell, you'll want to cleanse, a lot of times, all the time, you'll want to cleanse your area. Just, burn a little white sage, cleanse the area. You can use a smudge stick or an incense. I have an incense burning off to the side here that I always like to burn. And before you start, you basically want to, wherever you're going to perform your ritual or your spell, you're going to visualize yourself being surrounded in a white light, just cascading over you and over where you're going to work. And you're going to start off and you're going to cast your circle, and you're always going to start when you cast in a clockwise direction to cast the circle. Okay, now I always prefer to start facing north. That's my preference. I know some witches sometimes will start off by facing east, and then you can call in the corners or the four elements, north, east, south, and west, which I'll go over in a minute. There's different types of circles you can cast. There's your basic circle, okay? And your basic circle is basically, it acts as a shield, it protects, enhances life force, the power, balance, just a wholeness. It just really helps to resonate the energy of the work that you're doing. Some spells, sometimes you can cast what you'll see, a triangle inside a circle. And the triangle represents the Trinity, mind, body, and spirit. It can also represent the moon phases, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. A triangle inside a circle, when you cast it, is good for self-expression, creativity, artistic pursuits, power, spiritualism, divination. Okay? And sometimes it's not used very often, but there is a square within a circle. This really is only good for spells regarding work and your career, home buying, building, anything you want to build a foundation on. I wouldn't recommend this for any type of love spells. And then of course you have your traditional circle with the pentagram, the star in the middle, representing the 5 elements, earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So after you cast your circle, you want to make sure you gather all the tools that you're going to need, because you don't want to be going in and out of your circle. It's not really recommended. If you need to leave the circle for some reason, you'll want to open a doorway, so to speak. And you basically, you take your hand and you just visualize opening a doorway. And you're going to step over the edge of your circle when you leave. And you want to get whatever you need very quickly and come back in and make sure you close the doorway in the same fashion. Fun fact, cats are the only thing that can go in and out of a circle without disturbing it. They're such magical little creatures. Okay, so that's your basic casting a circle. And then when you're done with your spell or your ritual, you'll want to close the circle to release the energy out into the universe. Make sure you thank your God, your goddess, your spirit guides, your ancestors, whoever you invited in, and you're going to close the circle in a counterclockwise motion. And again, if you want to call the elements, you have north, which represents earth, east, which represents air, south is fire, water is west, and then the 5th element is, of course, spirit. Okay, so I'm going to go over some basic tools that you can use. First, I'm going to start off with your wand here. And this is one of my wands. This was a piece of driftwood that I found at the beach. And my son took it to his wood shop class and shaped it, and he burned a few little details in it for me. So this has a lot of sentimental meaning to me. Here's another example of a wand. This is selenite. This is another one. Traditionally, wands are usually wood, but sometimes people adorn them with crystals. And a wand represents the element of air. It's used to direct energy. Basically, like I said, you can always just use your finger to direct the energy. But a wand is the same idea, where you would use your finger to direct any energy, to draw sigils, cast your circles, call the elements, the gods, the goddesses. It represents air. So this is your basic wand. Okay. Next is your antheme, your witch's knife. And this is mine here, which I bought this piece. I just fell in love with it. It's beautiful. It's made by an artist. He creates all these by hand. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it's Roy Foster Art, but I'll double check before I post the video so you can look him up. And this is similar to your wand, my witch's knife. It's used to channel energy. It's representative often of air. It holds the god energy because it can also represent fire. So that is why it also can represent the god energy. And it's the same basic thing. You can use it for casting circles, for cutting energy ties, things like that. To be honest, I don't really use mine that much. I use my wand more. So there we go. There's my antheme, my witch's knife. Next is your chalice. This is mine. Traditionally, a lot of chalices will be made of silver. This happens to be my great-grandmother's, who's since passed away. I was very fond of her. She's a little Italian Catholic woman, which I kind of giggle. You know, here I am, the witch, using my Catholic grandmother's. It used to be a dessert cup, I believe. But I use it as a chalice. And this is used for offering any types of liquids, you know, if you're offering to the god or the goddess. And it's a good representation of the goddess itself because the chalice represents the womb. Us females, we have our very own chalice built right into our bodies, our womb. And it symbolizes fertility and abundance. You know, you can traditionally offerings are wine, ale, water. You can use juice, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, up next is, let's see, a bell. This is mine. I found it at a thrift store. Has a nice little sound to it. Bells are used to basically clear your space before a ritual, and often you can use it at the beginning of a spell and also to close a spell. It's a representation of air, and you can use it to charge crystals and tools, to seal spells, and a lot of times some witches will hang bells by their door to protect your home, which I have a different set of bells hanging on my front door. Okay, your besom, your witch's broom. Now these come in all sorts of sizes. This is my little one that I use for my altar. I will show you a video of my humongous one that I made that I have by my front door. I'll show you that in a minute. So it's a little broom, and they can be any size. This is a representation of the goddess. It basically sweeps away energy clutter. So, you know, if you just need to sweep away any negative energy, you just sweep it away. Sweep, sweep, sweep. Okay, so I'll cut away for a second so you can see the one I have by my front door. It's beautiful, but oh, it is huge. So here's my besom that I have by my front door, my very large witch's broom. I made it laying on the table, and I didn't realize it was so big until I stood it up. I mean, I could practically ride this thing. So the handle is made from a piece of driftwood that my husband found at the beach. There's a turkey feather that I found on my grandfather's grave. The bottom is just twigs with some dried lavender, some eucalyptus, a couple other things. So, Traditionally, a lot of witches hang it above the threshold of the door. It just wouldn't fit. It's too big. Because of the curvature of the handle, it had to be hung that way. So there you have it. Okay, back to talking about tools. So another tool you can have is a cauldron. And I do not have a typical cast iron cauldron. Most of them you see are your typical black cast iron cauldrons. This is what I use. It is simply because I haven't found one that really speaks to me yet. I've been looking for years. I would just want to find this black, old, large cast iron cauldron, and I've been looking. No such luck. So this is what I use. This is an example of you use what you have. They're typically cast iron. They're used to burn things in. You can brew stuff in them, which I wouldn't really use this to brew things in personally because it is copper. It represents fire, but it can also represent water because a lot of times you can fill it with water and use it for scrying. I don't really use this one for that. I have a separate vessel that I use for water. This is typically just for burning for me. Up next is candles. Oh my gosh, who doesn't love candles? Okay, so these are just basic spell candles here. They're not very big and they come in all sorts of colors. And depending on what type of spell work you want to do, you can color coordinate a candle to go with it. One of my little tricks is I use birthday candles because they don't take a lot of time to burn. And let's face it, we often live very busy lives, and sometimes we don't have several hours to dedicate to a spell. And I know some witches out there are like, oh, well, if you don't have several hours to dedicate, it's not worth doing. I say bull. You know what? You can be just as powerful and use just as much intent in 20 minutes as you can in an hour. So these are your basic candles here. I use white and black most often. And you can look up the different meanings of the different colors. I'm not going to go into that right now, but the candles basically represent all elements. They come in a variety of colors, like I said, but white can be substituted for any color. And you can personalize them with oils, or you can carve runes into them, depending on what you want to use it for. Next is an incense burner. I have two. This is just a little one that I use, and then another one is off to the side burning right now. And this one is nice because not only will it burn a little cone incense, but you can flip this over, and you can put your little charcoal disc on top, and then put either your resin or your loose leaf herbs and burn, and it will burn it that way. I burn a lot of incense. They're always going, all the time at my house. So this represents air. It's good for cleansing and purification, for prayer, for meditation, or simply if you just like the smell of the incense. Okay, oh, I almost forgot. Your altar cloth. So, it's just a basic cloth. It can be anything. This is mine. I have a few others. Different styles that, some are used for crystal gridding and whatnot, but this is just the one that I use the most. And it's used just to protect your altar, because sometimes we make a mess with candle drippings, ash, you name it. It can be made out of anything. It can be a scrap of material that you have. And it's just really good for just grounding your work that you're doing. Also, a few other things. It's good to have a mortar and pestle. If you use to mix or grind up things in your spell work. This is mine. Whoops. A couple other things that I find handy are divination tools. And I forgot to grab my pendulum. Oh, I'll grab it in a minute. I use runes a lot, as you can see. And I have a set here I keep in a bag. And it's a full set. I bought this one. I just really because I really like water, the element of water. I relate to it. So these are made on river rocks. Okay, a lot of witches use tarot. I prefer the runes. That's just me. And then I also use my pendulum more than anything. So let me go grab that and then I'll show you my pendulum. Be right back. Okay, so here's one of my pendulums. I have 3 different ones, but this is the one I use the most, and it's just a clear quartz. And this is a good tool that I like to use for divination. I use this more than anything, and a pendulum is really good just for simple yes or no answers. Okay, you can see I hold mine. You know, it's weird. You know, you say you hold things with your dominant hand. I'm left-handed, but I use my right hand for pretty much everything except for writing. So here, when I use my pendulum, my right hand is my dominant hand. All right, so this is your basic witches tools video. Like I said, none of this is a requirement. These are just handy little things to have to enhance your work if you like. You can be just as powerful using nothing but your mind. So just keep that in mind, you know, that you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna give you a little tour of my witch's room here next, so you can see my favorite little area. And then I'm also going to show you where I go to cast most of my spells and my rituals is outside. It's actually not in this room. I really don't do a lot of that in here. This is more of just my peaceful place, my meditation room, just to come to be alone with my thoughts. I really enjoy being outside. That's where I do a lot of my work. So I will show you my favorite spot in my house to do that. And you'd be surprised, you know, when we bought this house, the one thing I wish we had was a bigger yard. But I managed to make my little yard just my sanctuary besides this room. And it's just a really wonderful place to do a little magic. Alrighty, thank you. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, so here's a quick tour of my witchy room, my she cave, my library. There's my cat, Millie. There she is. Say hi, Millies. She's like, nope, not gonna say hi. So this is where I keep a lot of my supplies here on my little shelf. See, I have some of my smudge sticks there, and I keep more of them in the box. My vessel that I use for water. Some of my apothecary items, a lot of my books. This is my permanent altar that I have set up in here. I have a little obsession with crystal balls. Oh, I have some displayed there. More up here, more crystal balls. This is the library, the rest of my books, a few other little goodies. Meow, oh, there was Millie. Now she said hi. You say hi? Nope, not gonna say hi when she wants to. I'll just, you know, have it set up how I want. This is a no electronics area, which I'm breaking my rule here by making this video. Yeah, so this is my room. I love this room. It's very relaxing. I definitely spend a lot of time in here. Say bye-bye, Mills. This is my outside space where I like to perform a lot of my rituals and spell work out here. I have a little folding table that I just will set up with my chair. I usually kind of set it up here in this area by my pond. And this would be facing north, facing that wall right there. And then when I'm done, I just fold it up and put it away, but I really like to be out here when doing any of my work. So you can see, I don't have a huge yard, but I tried to make it my little sanctuary. This is where I do most of my work, is out here. And then this is my lounge chair that I love to read and to meditate in. By my pond. My fish are in there somewhere. They're hiding. Let's see them.